is an author, speaker, coach, and the author of the book Bluefish, which actually has your anniversary is coming up this weekend, you said earlier.
Yeah, it's coming up. Shockingly, 3rd year anniversary is this Saturday.
Come on, man. Listen, Steve, tell everybody a little about who you are, where you're from, and what you've got going on right now.
Wow, that's a deep question. All right, so to bricklaying family, kicked out of school at the age of 15, straight onto a building site. Like all entrepreneurs, I realized that this didn't fit my style because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but it sure shit wasn't going to be bricklaying for the rest of my life. So I went out to try and get into a room full of billionaires. I found a little way of doing that by becoming like their go-to guy for the kind of quirky access and weird and wacky. Ended up launching the world's largest and most well-known experiential concierge firm. And Forbes titled me the real life Wizard of Oz. That carried on for about 25 years. And then 3 years ago, I got asked to write a book on if I could name all of the famous and celebrities and powerful people all over the planet that I deal with. And I refused, because if I wrote that book, I'd be dead by cocktail hour. So then they came back to me and they said, well, hang on a minute. How come a 15-year-old bricklayer goes from that to working with Elon Musk and the Pope? Can you do a how-to? So this little puppy, Bluefishing, the art of making things happen, we did it. Didn't think it would take off because I honestly didn't think anyone would believe it. So we didn't have a website. We didn't do a book tour. In fact, I'll tell you about the launch party later on. But, you know, we really wrote the book hoping it would help someone, but didn't do it in order to become an international bestseller, which it since has been. 3 years later, my world has changed, and I'm teaching, I'm coaching, I'm training on really how to get out of your own way and how to go for stupid, which is not what people do. They go for the impossible, and impossible is a negative, finite word. So going for a negative, going for a dead end makes no sense. So we go for stupid.
So you're a 15-year-old bricklayer and realize real quick, this manual labor is not for me. Talk to me about that process. You went from there, Steve, into really kind of the entrepreneurial juices kind of started flowing in. You're like, okay, hey, I want to work for myself. How did you go from that to running the concierge service? And I love the title, The Real Life Wizard of Oz, that Forbes magazine pinned you. How'd you go? How does somebody go from that to being?
I don't think that's a tough answer. You see, we could name drop, we could, list countries and cities and bars that maybe people have never heard of before, but the journey is exactly the same. You see, I believe that if you took, all the people you've mentioned, Coach Burt, Bradley, all of these, you, me, Bill Brian Bogart, if you took all of these people and you cut them in the middle, you cut them in half like a tree trunk, okay? There'd be a vein or a cell or a molecule that was identical to every single one of us. Yes. And that I call the aggravation cell. It's that cell or that molecule that goes, hey, does this have to be it? Now, you don't know what it is. And the classic entrepreneur jumps out of the frying pan straight into the volcano. We don't do things based on forethought and intelligence. We do them based on vibe, feeling, and intuition. And let's be blunt, most of the time we get it fuck wrong. Okay. Right. But that's what entrepreneurs do, isn't it? We fall over, we get up and go, well, that didn't work. And we go again. I've never met a single entrepreneur that hasn't been laughed at, ridiculed, gone broke, been sued, gone broke again, made money, gone broke again, been sued, ridiculed. Why would you ever pick that path?
Right.
But we do. So I'm going to give you my pivotal moment. So my dad took me onto the building site. I've been on building, my family's a big Irish family. Yeah, I've been working on building sites since I was big enough to pick up a trowel and a brick. So like 12 years old, every summer holiday, I'm on the building site cleaning up something. On this day, I'm actually carrying bricks up a scaffolding. And so I'm going up this ladder, get up to the top of the scaffolding, and I've got this big pile of bricks on my shoulder, and my dad's there. And next to him is my uncle, his brother. Next to him are my two cousins, late teens and mid-20s. Next to them was my 80-year-old granddad. Now, this is in London, so forget the picturesque postcards you see of London. It's cold and it's pissing with rain. So it's not a nice day for all us to be out there getting cold and smacking up our hands and getting dirty. And I saw my entire lifeline all the way up until my granddad. So I was about 16 years old at the time. And we went into the tea hut to try and warm up, usual tea hut, like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I run into the tea hut. And stuck with me. My dad yelled at me, put the bricks down, get more bricks. But this picture stayed with me so strongly that I ran up to my granddad. And, I was surprised I didn't get punched in the head because he was like 7'4" Paddy. And I said, Granddad. And he was like, yeah. I said, did you ever think you'd be doing this at your age? Now, his words I will never forget, and I can repeat them to the T. He was literally blowing into his cup of tea to kind of like cool it down so he could start getting a bit warm and drinking it. He never looked at me, never made eye contact. All he said was, son, if you don't quit today, you'll be me tomorrow.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. And the whole tea hut, which was basically a large caravan with the wheels taken off, suddenly went quiet. I couldn't hear anything. Crickets. And I went running out of the caravan. And my dad hated to be called Dad on the building site. He had a nickname called Cuz. But I came bounding out of that tea and I was like, Dad. And he was like, what? What are you? And he was very annoyed because he hated being called Dad. He's like, what's up? And I said, I went up on the scout, and there you were, and there was your uncle and my cousins and my grand, and I went in, did you ever think you'd be, and he said, if I don't quit today, and I'm like spouting like I'm on acid. And I said, Dad, I have to quit. And he looked at my granddad, who was at the time walking past me. And again, I can't overemphasize how big my granddad was. So you knew when this guy was behind you. They clocked eyes. They both kind of thought, give the guy a chance, because no one likes being on a building site. I don't care what you say. It was horrible. They looked at each other. He looked at me and he went, we're light-handed. You finish Friday. Now, I never got the chance to tell my granddad the impact he had, but that was the moment that I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know it's not this. And a lot of people, they go, well, I don't know what I'm doing. What shall I go and do? And they try to objectify, or they try to see or experience what they can't by trying something different. An entrepreneur is the one that says, I don't like that, and walks out the door and tries to find out what they do. And I went on a journey of, I was a lorry driver. I was an insurance salesman. I was in a call center. I was a trainee stockbroker, cake salesman for a large British cake store. I think I ate more than I sold. It was just, I tried so many different things to try and find out where I fit. And again, it's the classic entrepreneur. We don't know where we fit until we fit and we conquer.
And so talk to me about I love your concept, as Coach Burke would call them, going for stupid. Like, yes. when did you find the, with your concierge business, so every day, and I'll say this, every day in my 10X planner, it says, what problem can I solve today? When did you realize you were a problem solver?
So my wife, who's been thankfully with me for 35 years, has seen, experienced, and got scarred by this entire journey. And she always said that my superpower was the power of ignorance. I never thought about things. I did them. And I've got a good friend of mine that actually lives just down the road from me here in LA, Jay Abraham, who has always said that I've got a greater ICANN than an IQ. And I realized very early on that people are actually shy of telling you what they want.
Right.
And so people would actually, let's get this into context. My lowest point of life, didn't have a job, couldn't get anywhere, ended up being on the door because I was big and ugly. I suddenly noticed from this pedestal, I got to see humanity. And I started throwing my own parties after the bar shut and only inviting rich people. Lesson number one, why invite poor people that can't afford you? Right. So I would only ever invite rich people. And then I started taking over the entire club. Then I started taking over mansions and yachts and all that. My parties became massive. Then people were like, oh, I want to go to the Grammys. Oh, I want to go to Kentucky Derby. I want to drive a Formula One car. I want to meet Sir Elton John. I want a drum lesson with Guns N' Roses. All of a sudden, the more I was asked to do and achieved, the grander the requests came. And I ended up working for Elton John, Elon Musk, the Grammys, Kentucky Derby, Paris, New York Fashion Week, Formula One. I ended up working for all of these major groups. And I've done everything from, I was asked to get a couple married in the Vatican by the Pope to close the museum party of at the feet of Michelangelo's David. So the experiences got bigger and bigger. But I noticed two things. People are shy of actually asking what they want. They usually ask for what makes them sound cool. Okay. Mm. So I learned two things very early on. Listen to what they ask for. And then step one, ignore it and get out your inner Sherlock to find out what is the catalyst, what is the cause, what is the core for that request. Mm. And then go for that. And I noticed that the next thing, which is becoming, now bearing in mind, I started this in the early 90s, but my second key is more valuable now than it was then. Never give anyone what they asked for. Because that's a transaction. And we're in a transactional society now. Alexa, Siri, Amazon, give me toilet roll, Uber Eats, DoorDash. It's all transactional. Uber, everything is transactional. You don't have a relationship with Uber. Right. You don't have a relationship with Amazon. If a company came out tomorrow called, I don't know, Bing Bong, and your toilet roll was 10 cents cheaper, sure shit, you'd be buying it from there because you don't have any loyalty over convenience. And if someone can offer it cheaper and just as convenient, they've now got your business. But the thing about AI and transactions that they can't do is they can't create and design and dream. So you have to speak to people. May I give you a story? May I give you an example?
Most definitely, yeah.
All right. So I mentioned that I'd been asked to get a couple married in the Vatican by the Pope. Fine. So I was in Rome organizing this. I was stationed there for, God, it was like 8 months. This you want to know about red tape? Work with the Vatican. It's centuries old red tape, and a little bit of ego. Let's just leave it there. So while I was there, a client of mine contacted me and said, "Hey, I hear you're in Poland. I hear you're in Rome. I want to go down to Florence and I want to have a dinner party. I want to impress my fiance because her mother and father are in town. They lived in Poland. We're coming down to Florence. I want to show them how powerful we are. We need to do a great dining experience." And it was the word experience that he used. Now, I've worked with this guy many, many years for the simple reason that by now he doesn't explain too much. He just gives me the essence and goes, "Go make me happy," So I could have literally, looked up the open table version of an Italian table booking system, got him a great restaurant, and then contacted forward and made sure the chef came out to say hi. But that wouldn't have been good enough. If I started providing what people asked for, sooner or later, they would go, "Well, I can do that myself." Okay. So I go for stupid. The first thing I do is, okay, you want a dine-in, keyword experience in Florence. What's the most ridiculous? Now, notice the word is not impossible. What's impossible? What can't be done? That's a stupid way to look at things. What's the most ridiculous? What's the most laughable? What's the most stupid, out of the world thing I could go for here? Now, I have not always got a hole in one. Very rarely have I got a hole in one. But when you fail by getting the first couple of places that you want, you still end up 400 miles away from the original request. Mm-hmm. So I actually went for the Accademia di Galleria, the museum that houses Michelangelo's David in Florence, the world's most iconic statue and one of the oldest museums in the planet. And I got them to allow me to set up a table at the feet of this statue for 6 people to have dinner with a string quartet at 9 o'clock at night with the entire museum closed. I went for the most stupid thing in the planet, and I got it. Now, here's something. Once I got it, I still had 36 hours left before they were about to experience it. Entrepreneurs, we don't settle. Once we've got something and it's working, we do two things. We make it better or we fuck it up. That's what we do. So I thought to myself, what can we do to maybe up this game? I've already got a statue more famous than the Statue of Liberty. You know, I've already got a location, a city. I've already got all that. I've got a brilliant chef. How can I take this from stupid to sublime and ridiculous? You know, how can I possibly make it better than it is? And as you say to yourself, don't know, but let's try. So what I did was I got Andrea Bocelli to come in and serenade them while they were halfway through their pasta. I took the most famous Italian singer on the planet to be their dinner time entertainment. I went for stupid. And that's what I do every single time. I do that with my coaching clients. I have a Facebook group called An Entrepreneur's Advantage with Steve Sims. We're constantly pushing each other to go, hey, how can you take this further? How can you do something stupid? Not impossible. How can you do something stupid? You know, you're going to be laughed at. I was with Elon Musk, I don't know, not 8 years ago. Jesus, yeah, it must have been maybe 7 years ago, just before he got the contract with NASA. And it was at a time that NASA was publicly humiliating him for getting into the space industry. Publicly, NASA actually employed a digital agency to ridicule him socially on anything he ever said. Okay. And I remember him turning around to one of my clients when my client said, you know, how do you feel about this? He literally turned around and he said, they'll laugh at you before they applaud. So, you know, as an entrepreneur, 90% of what you're going for, someone is going to laugh at you. Someone is going to ridicule you. So go for it. Just you're already going to be laughed at. Don't be laughed at for doing something small. Be laughed at for doing something stupidly, ridiculously massive.
Steve, why don't people go for stupid? Like, what's the thing that you've seen in all the years you've been an entrepreneur that hinders people from going for stupid?
So there's two things.
Or settling for just the dinner in the location at the feet of the statue and not going Andrea Bocelli.
Yeah, there's two answers for two levels of people. Okay. And both of them have this horrible virus that's in our planet called embarrassment. You know, embarrassment actually drives us a lot. The fear, you see, most people aren't frightened of failing. They're frightened of people seeing it and hearing about it. Okay. That's what they don't like. Now, here's the daft thing. The more powerful you become. Now, bearing in mind, my concierge firm, I want to get you completely accurate. We had at its peak 93 clients. Only 2 of them were not billionaires. Okay. You don't need a lot of billionaires to make a lot of money. So, you know, we had a lot of billionaires in our camp. I had people asking me things that literally they could have gone and got themselves, but they didn't want 2 things to happen. One, for them to be able to go, oh no, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you, because that would be front page news for a start. Okay. If Brad Pitt got turned down to get into a nightclub or a party, they would make me, our party is so exclusive, we even turned Brad Pitt away. So they can't afford that. That's the first thing. They also can't afford the favor that they will get called upon years down the line. And so I remember I was working for Victoria's Secrets, one of the board of directors, and the deal that I had was that I also got 30 tickets to the Victoria's Secret show. One of the board of directors contacted me to buy 4 tickets off me. The board of directors of his own company, of his own event, contacted me, and I went, look, do you know how much I sell these for? And he said, yeah, I do. And I'll tell you quite openly, they were going for 25 grand a couple. Okay. And he wanted 4. And I said, so you know how much I'm making on these things. I ain't going to give you a discount because I ain't going to have any point. And he said, no. He said, you don't realize paying you that price means that I don't get a phone call in 18 months going, Johnny, do you remember how we helped you out? I need your Hamptons home. I need you to get my daughter a job. I need you to put. So the affluent and the powerful contact me to remove the favors down the line, which have a compound rate of larger than anything the mafia can charge, and they save themselves the embarrassment. Now, the reason entrepreneurs don't go for stupid is because 9 times, and I'd already done the plug for the Entrepreneurs Advantage, and that's a free Facebook group. The reason that they don't do it is because their vicinity is full of crabs. You know, we've all been in the pub and we've gone, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. And you've got the jackass at the end of the bar that's on the only beer he can afford that night, spouting at you, going, oh, you could never do that. And the stupid thing is you listen to him. Mm. And there's too many people out there that tell you you can't do things for fear that you actually will and prove them inadequate. So the most powerful people don't do it because of the embarrassment and the favor. The other half, us entrepreneurs, 9 times out of 10, don't go for gold, don't go for broke, don't go for stupid, because of the fear of the people that are around them will A, either laugh at them, or B, start laughing before they've even chanced. So they settle down. But you know the difference between everyone that me and you spoke about before we came on the show and the wannabes is that we don't give a fuck.
Right.
Okay. I don't care about you laughing at me because, in the words of Elon, sooner or later that laughter is going to turn into a round of applause. Okay. And I've made mistakes. And then I've gone, okay, where did that go wrong? You know, and I've been able to analyze it, so I never create it again. You very, very rarely trip on the same curb. Okay. Once you know where the problem is, you move on.
So is there a way, Steve, for people to go from being afraid and go from, you know, again, like you said, you're taking advice from, when you share with somebody what you want to do, you're taking advice from somebody who can't afford or can only afford 1 beer for the night. Is there a way for people to move from being that and being afraid into, you know what, I'm just going to take a chance at this. I'm going to go for stupid.
There is. The first thing you've got to do is you've got to create habits. And, you know, shallow plug time. You know, the book here just happens to be with me. It's the anniversary. Of course, it's bloody with me, mate. I'm doing loads of live feeds. But, you know, I'll give you a very, very easy one. Okay. You've got to start training your brain to create the habit that you go for what scares you or the what's different. Okay. And you can do this by walking into a restaurant and ordering an appetizer that you've never heard of before. The most ridiculous one on there, order that appetizer. What's your downside? Your downside is you don't like it. Your upside is that you now know you don't like it based on real-time experience. Okay? How many times do we look at a restaurant and we go, God, I bloody hate that. Okay?
Right.
And then you eat it and you go, oh, I actually quite like that. You know, your parameters are usually the things that stop you going forward. Another thing to do is radio channels. Okay. I have, I think it's called My Tuner, and it's a digital radio channel. And I will literally just select radio stations from all over the world, and I will listen to them while I'm working for 1 hour. And I've had Israeli radio, London, I've had all these different things. And the other week I had, it was about 2:00 in the afternoon. I had, I think it was Norwegian or Dutch EDM. Okay. Now, I'd never come across EDM before. And at the time, I didn't even know what EDM stood for. And I hadn't also thought about it that at 2:00 in the afternoon, it's way past those boys' bedtime over in North Europe. So they are full ramped up on their EDM music. And that hour's EDM taught me a valuable lesson, okay? That I fucking hate North European EDM, okay? But I would not have been able to have actually mentioned that had I listened to it. And where was my liability? I was training myself to constantly try something different. If you're driving home and you're on the same road every day, take a different route. If you can start creating those habits, what happens is your mind, it does something. It goes, okay, what are we going to try now? You know, what's he going to pick this different? Where is he going to go now? And the second you're receptive to change, that's when those little dreams come in.
Mm.
So it doesn't have to be all out risk. Now I've got museums, I've got the Vatican, I've got the Pentagon, I've got all of these things, but for many years I was declined, but I got closer and I got closer and and the habits in me now is I quite openly think that there is nothing
Nothing you can do.
impossible and nothing that I can't achieve.
So all the years of trying to get in places, Steve, and you got refused. What kept you going? What kept you? Because there's I call that in the South, we call that having that dog in you. There's something in you that just goes, I can't give up. What is that? How would you define that?
So I left school at the age of 15, and a bunch of my buddies I knew were college. And I could not understand why you would leave school and then go to another one. It made no sense to me, And so I left school as I quite openly say, very uneducated. But I class myself now as a hugely educated man. But school had nothing to do with that. The mistakes, the faller. But I noticed one of my habits of learning was to grab snippets. I love sound bites. I love quotes to educate me. And I make up a load of them myself. And I realized a couple of things. That when I asked someone, when I wanted to get into something, if I got a no, I was either asking the wrong person or the wrong question. Mm. Okay. Now, have you ever, there's another slight twist on that if you're asking a person a question and they say no, are they the person that could say yes? You see, if you go up to the valet boy at the Oscars and go, hey, can you let me into the Oscars? He doesn't have the power to let you in. He has the power to park your car. He doesn't have the authority to let you in. So if you're getting a no from him, you're asking the wrong person, regardless of the question. And so when I finally got to the person that did have the power to say yes, but they said no, and then I would twist the question to try and get a yes again, and I would get a no again, then I had another fallback quote. And it was always that there's more ways to get into a house than just the front door. Mm. And so, I always gave myself these little kind of okay, you're not letting me through the front door. Where's the back door? Where's the bathroom window? Where's the chimney? There's always multiple ways to get in a house. You've just got to find it. And again, wrong person or wrong question until finally. And there's been so many times that I've got into events and then actually seen the person that said no to me. Now, look, I'm a British guy with tattoos, bald hair, goatee beards, eyebrow piercing. I kind of sometimes stand out a bit, okay, especially when I start talking. And you'll get people looking and they're like, how the hell did you get in? And I'll be like, hey, how are you? You having a good night? And I would just completely blank it. But there's been many times where people have looked at me and gone, I said you couldn't come in. You did. Thanks for that. And just but I'm here, and you can't kick me out. So it was kind of funny, but I always had that kind of thing in me about questioning where it goes wrong. You see, many people, in fact, I'll give you a perfect example. I have a speakeasy community and coaching thing. And I had a client of mine was coming in to do a pitch in LA, and I live in LA. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, can you come to my presentation? And I was like, you've seen me. I'm always in a black t-shirt. There's no way in the world I can get. It was a technology company. And he's like, yeah, I'll make out that you're my driver/security guard. I went, you build apps. Why do you need a security guard? And he's like, oh, go with it. I'm like, okay, walk me through it. And he said, well, I told this company about this. And then we had a Zoom call. And then they put me through to this board. And they are flying him in to do the presentation in front of the board of directors. So I went, all right. So we came along and I was there and I sat in the corner. Yes, I got some funny looks, but I kept quiet. And the guy went into his pitch. And it was beautiful. It was about a 2.5 hour, maybe 3 hour pitch. And it was beautiful. And everyone's nodding, everyone's receptive, phones are down, notes are being made. And then they declined. They said, thank you very much. We don't want to waste your time, but we won't be continuing. Thank you very much for coming in. And he left. And he gets in the car, and I was driving the car. He had actually driven me there, but I was driving back because he was pissed. He didn't say much, and then it unleashed. He went into his full-on pity party. How did that go wrong? I was doing that. Why did they say no? And he went into it. And I said to him, and then he started going on about, well, that was a waste of time. That was a failure. And I said, far from it now. I said, I'm going to stop you there. That was far from a failure, but one part of it did. What was that part? We need to find that bit in the path that tripped you up. Remove that. It'll never trip you up again. But where did it go wrong? I said, because think about it. These people saw an email for you. So your copy must have been good. They heard about your project. So that must have been a solution that they were looking for. It's so much that they threw you in. You didn't get middle management. You got the board of directors. How the president popped in to just check how it was going. You got absolutely everyone, but it went wrong. Where did it go wrong? Because the other elements, I would say, were downright winners. So I said to him, this is what you need to do. Contact the person that set up the appointment. Appreciate them taking the time. You're not trying to score the deal by going in a different way, but you want to bluntly ask, where did I lose you? So we did that. It turned out that as he was getting to the end, so we're talking about the last 30 minutes of his thing, he started to go into the payment. And he said, we take this payment structure to be able to implement this program. Every company in the planet has their own budget layout of how and when they pay for things. And if it falls out of that budget period, you know, like the first quarter of the year may be all advertising, second quarter of the year may be all development. So if you try to get them to spend development in January, no, you can't do that because we're in. They lost it because his payment plan was too strict. So he went and did again to a competitor. Now, I didn't go with him this time because he was on the East Coast, but he went in there, and the second it got to the payment plan, he said, hey, we have a payment structure in order to be able to implement that. But let's be blunt. These are different for every company. So we work with your team to work out the best structure for you. He got the deal.
Wow.
Now, the good thing is that the girl that he spoke to that gave him this information ended up working for another competitor and actually contacted him to come in and pit. He got 2 deals out of it. So he didn't fail. He learned where it went wrong, and now he was on a blistering lineup of just getting repeat business. It could have gone wrong if he'd have got a yes that first time, because then he wouldn't have gone to the competitors.
Would have only got 1 deal instead of 2.
Bingo. And he wouldn't have learned on the education either. He wouldn't have learned where it went wrong. So I'm a great believer that when we fall over, that's where all the success is. You know, when your face is in the shit, that's when you suddenly start to find the diamonds. You don't find them on the hilltop.
Wow, that's fantastic. Hey, real quick, Steve, we've got a couple minutes. Talk about Bluefish. A little bit about your book. I know it's your 3rd year anniversary. Where can people find it? I know it goes by fast, doesn't it, my friend?
I couldn't believe it. We put it up there. I am going to ask everyone to do this. Go to stevedsims.com, my website. You can find the book and stuff on there. You can subscribe. You can do anything you like, but this is what I'm going to ask you to do, which I think is going to make you laugh. And I think you're going to get a real kick out of this. I wrote the book and I got paid very well to write the book. Okay. So I never had any liability of whether or not it sold 100,000 copies because I was already heavily front loaded. We didn't bother doing a big launch on this. We literally just went down to a bar in Hollywood with a bunch of my friends and got drunk. And there was one girl there, Sonia Hadda, that actually videoed this and did it as a book launch party and actually gave me the video. We posted that video on that website because we thought it was so funny that we didn't think it was going to be anything. We just got drunk. The publisher sent me a check for $2.5 grand, literally to buy champagne and rent a table in the local Barnes and Noble on a Saturday afternoon. And I thought, a Saturday afternoon where you've got your kids, there's no way in a way you're walking up to me. So we didn't know it was going to do what it did. And what it did was basically grant permission for you to do something stupid. how to communicate, how to build up relationships, how to get to connect with absolutely everyone, and how to stop selling and start solving. How to go for what the people want and not what they've asked for. We put this book together, hoping it would help a couple of people. It's been a bestseller everywhere. It got translated into Korean, Thai, Vietnamese, Poland. It's sold out in one day. In Poland, sold out. All published copies in one day. It's currently being translated into Russian. So 3 years later, I am stunned at what it's done for people and the kind of emails I get back. So if you want to, you can, go and find out about it. Bluefishing, the art of making things happen, or join our Entrepreneurs Advantage Facebook group. It's free of charge, and just do something stupid.
Come on, Steve. I love it, man. Thank you so much for being a part of our GSD podcast today, man. Now I know why I have 3 people in a week go, hey, do you know Steve Sims? You've got to get connected with this guy. You guys, I know we do have that sexy hairstyle in common, most definitely. But dude, thank you so much, man. I look forward for you and I to be able to connect in the future. And when I'm out in LA, I was out there a few months ago visiting my friend Greg Reed, which I know you know Greg as well. So yeah.
Phone me.
Yeah.
Greg. Yeah, phone me.
Yeah, most definitely. I'd love to get out to LA probably at least once every 5 or 6 weeks. So, Steve, thanks for being a part of today. And the book is Bluefishing, SteveDSims.com, and Steve D. Sims as well on Instagram. Best way to connect and follow what's going on. Awesome, man.
Everywhere.
Steve, thank you again, my friend. Absolutely love Go for Stupid.
Appreciate it. It's been what I've been doing, and it seems to work.
Go for Stupid. Steve, thanks so much. Hey, guys, thank you for joining us today on our Grow Stack Drive podcast. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at noon Eastern for our next show. Steve, thank you, my friend.
See ya. Bye.